Welcome to RC Underground Radio.
We're racing toy cars here.
If you've been looking for a podcast that talks about One RC tracks, suppliers, and events, then you're in the right place.
I haven't changed my underwear since the Kenman. I'm not kidding.
I'm
not kidding. It's the same.
I didn't want to go there.
It's this.
And we're glad you're here. Now, here are your hosts, Ryan Retzloff and David Brinkman.
I am a BB in a boxcar.
All right, well, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, and this is a whole different animal that we're going to be tackling here. We're actually on YouTube now, and with me, as always, the talent, Ryan Retzloff.
Thanks, Dave. The talent. Come on. It's been a hot minute since we've been on, and we just did a show last week, right, to really kind of kick off the RC Underground and that series that we have coming up, and launch some cool races that you've come up with. So that's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. We'll get into a little bit more of that later, but really good to get back just in the underground radio scene and getting after it. It's been, 90 days now?
Yeah, it's been a hot minute, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, doing this thing it's been a lot of fun, and we learned a lot through last season. We had some amazing guests on the show, and this year, I think, and this season is going to get even better. So hang tight, everybody.
Yeah, for sure. And we thought, let's kick it off this season like we did last season. Just you and I kind of talking racing, kind of catching up, getting this thing launched. But yeah, you're right. We've got some great guests coming up in the following weeks. So you mentioned that we did the kickoff show for the RC Underground Speedway, and there's actually been some great feedback on that. People seem to enjoy it. They like the detail. I think we're even sparking more drivers that are interested in coming out and giving it a shot. Yeah. So, but it's all good stuff. We all the races have a theme to them, and I think some of those themes kind of spark some people. So it's going to be great to get the band back together again, right? And just start spinning some laps. We've been doing a lot of changes down at the Underground. Mentioned that we added a lot of electricity. There's going to be some other little surprises down there, and just always trying to make it a little bit more fun and accommodating to the people that come.
I think one of the coolest things that we're starting to do now is the YouTube and the format. And you notice in the past, Dave and I would literally sit across the table from one another. So we're kind of doing a little bit of a remote thing. And I think this has given us a little bit more flexibility in being able to provide you more with more shows, really, as we go along here, because I'm going to bounce around a little bit. We've got some cool stuff going on. So.
Yeah, so that's the plan, and it kind of just dropped in our lap. I was like, hey, I'll be honest, dragging all the PA equipment, everything back and forth to work, and us having to stay there late, and you touched on it. This way you get to be home with the family when, sometimes you'll be in that studio, sometimes you're in that studio. Mm-hmm. I'm actually at the Creative Studios. It's spelled CRE8TIV, the Creative Studios. They're kind of powering this whole thing for us. And so that's a new partner of ours. Anybody out there who's interested in getting involved in podcasts, or there's a whole bunch of things, just go to Creative with that 8, creative.studio, and you can learn more about all the options and offerings that they have out there. But we're super glad that they're helping us do the show. But what fell on us is that, with Ryan's setup, he's like mobile. He can tunnel in. So we're like, now there's no cord. There's no cord to Ryan. Can you imagine this? Like Ryan on the loose.
And I'm going mobile. And I'm definitely going mobile this year, this winter, and even into next year. So we did a little bit. We got a little mobile this past summer out at Attitude, but
it was a little test on how that goes. That got really good feedback. People love that we went to a track. They're like, "What other tracks are you going to go to?" Well, we're not just going to leave it at tracks. I think we're going to some other places that are involved with the RC hobby. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to send Ryan in the eye of a hurricane. No, we're not going to do that. Other channels have done that. I think it'd be hilarious, but we're not going to do that to him. But we're going to come probably pretty darn close in some areas. But no, he'll be, going to different places with everything related to the hobby.
Yeah.
You and I have talked, and sure, we love talking 1/18 scale, 1RC. That's in our heart, right? And we're always going to talk about that stuff. But there's so much in and around the hobby that needs to be discussed and mentioned. We want to bring people into this hobby, right?
Well, yeah.
And sure.
Yeah. You have so much fun with the 1/18th. We experience so much. And I think, at least for myself, and I know you've gotten to wheel some larger cars too. It's really the whole scope. So on-road, off-road, dirt oval, you name it. We're going to try and capture as much of that as we can and talk to a lot of those people that not only own tracks, but that race at tracks, promoters, all of that, because it's a heck of a lot of fun. Now, the thing you've got to really understand here is, we're rookies at this, right? Picking up a lot of the dirt oval stuff, because that was the easy transition, coming from racing the RC Underground, stepping up to dirt oval and things like that. So we're going to be learning with you guys, or actually we're going to be learning from you guys. I mean, I didn't know the difference between a 21.5 motor and a 17.5, 6 months ago. So we're going to learn along with you. And hopefully a lot of our guests and even people listening to the show can help educate us as well.
I'm hoping that, from our YouTube subscribers and those that follow, there's going to be some great questions on there. And then we're going to be able to take those questions. As you say, we're going to be learning. But I think that's what's going to make it great is we're going to have great questions, because we're going to honestly be asking questions about things that we don't know about, but we want to know about.
Right. I mean, we're hungry to learn. I mean, that's it. We just want to get better. We want to provide you with more content in a great, format. Right. So, getting some good hosts on the show, some good questions from our viewers and listeners, I think will be extremely helpful. So, give us everything you got, folks.
Right. So, but like we said, 1RC is still near and dear to our heart. We're always going to give it time, but we're going to put it in a segment, especially for the RC Underground. So let's do that. It's RC Underground update. We're just going to take a few minutes. We launched the season. We've got the Midwestern 400. It's going to be 400 laps with batteries. We've given all the detail in that show. We really suggest you go back and watch that. If you're interested in what we're going to talk about the next few minutes, you'll really be interested to get some more detail. And if you want to come try out the RC Underground, just reach out to us and on Facebook, and we'll definitely figure out a way to accommodate and make that happen. We'd love to see you. So, Ryan, we talked in depth, 400 laps. We know that there's some, 2 battery stops and things like that, but you've had a little time to absorb that now. Do you prepare the car any differently for 400 laps?
We talked in the last show. I mean, the track is going to rubber up throughout the day, so really just keeping your tires clean is going to be the big thing throughout that 400 laps. We know that a battery, it ain't going to go more than 250 laps, I think, at best, right? And you're going to start losing a lot of performance out of it, and potentially actually have the car cut off because of low voltage. So you just have to be smart, stay consistent. But I don't think you need to really change much with the car, to be brutally honest.
Yeah, and even though it's a 400 lap kind of endurance kind of deal, I think it's going to still go really fast.
Yeah, but I mean, you're clicking off 2-some-second laps. Yeah, it's going to go quickly.
Yeah, and you can't really sit back, right? You just got to go.
Yeah, you gotta, your initial thought process, and I've learned this, is, you go out and, okay, you got to run, 100 laps. Well, you want to win the race in the first 20. You can't do it. You just got to be consistent. Jake Bolter talks about it all the time, consistency. I've learned that throughout the summer and in some of the racing I've done. So that's really going to be the key to it all. Let others make mistakes. stay smooth, and look for those opportunities to make some clean passes.
Yeah, and you brought up a great point. It's that median time, right? So
Yeah.
guys that are smart and have a good strategy are really going to look at that during their heat races. And if they have to go into the alphabet soup to make their way up, that's where you'll be running 100 laps. And you can get a really good feel of if there's any fall off in a 100-lap run. Because if you are, you really got to change your game because you're going 4 times that far.
It is going to be an interesting race. I mean, there will be a lot of good racers there. So I'm just looking forward to getting back down to the underground, competing again with all those guys. I know I've missed them a lot throughout, the summer, although we've all kind of talked and, here and there, but it'd just be good to get back together again and, have some friendly competition. So,
yeah. And then welcoming in all the new folks that are going to be racing. It's going to be wild.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
I got a big mouth and I start shooting it off, and I'll talk about that in a little while. But yeah, if you come into the underground, it is going to be rowdy this year. And what I mean by that is just great competition. Nick Ciccone, I'm sorry, but you're a great racer and a hell of a human being, but you have competition this year, and they are coming for you. So, and we're talking about some seasoned racers. So. Yeah.
Should be very interesting. But on the flip side, a lot of them are going to be new to 1/18 scale cars. So, we'll just have to see how all that shakes out. But yeah, there are some magnificently talented people.
I can tell you through my experiences this summer racing that when you have the ability to wheel a car and understand it, that translates from 1/10 scale, 1/8 scale, to 1/18th. It's pretty incredible. I've just seen guys, go from a wing sprint car to a late model to a mod, and like they're just insane. So, and we're going to have those guys out at the underground that can do that. So, it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, what I really am looking forward to too is we all know that, especially when the track is green, especially the first race. It takes a little while for that rubbering in, as you call it, right? It's probably not going to be rubbered in by qualifying. So you're going to have this whole group of dirt track pros, right? They've been running dirt. They could come right to the top right away because they're comfortable with that.
Again, back to they've got a lot of experience, and that's just going to be the fun part of it. Just the past year We've had a pretty close-knit group that's been at the underground, but we're expanding, we're growing, we're gaining some popularity. People are itching. So, we'll look out for those guys, and hopefully they stick with us all season.
So happy, the excitement is building around it. We're kicking it off with one of our biggest races of the season. It's going to be great. We'll highlight more of it that week before. The race is September 30th. At the underground that Saturday, so we'll have a show that'll be out the Monday before. We'll spend a little additional time talking about the underground, but there we go. There's our first segment of the night. Next piece I wanted to talk about is some ideas of shows that we're going to have coming up, and we need you. We need people that are watching to become part of the show. So I talked about it in the off season, and it's something that's coming up. Is we want to do a show about tracks. What goes into putting on an afternoon of racing? I mean, we've seen it at Attitude. You've seen it in St. Charles. You see it at the underground. We want to get those track owners, but we want to get more track owners. All right? I'm calling you out, El Paso. You got a great thing going on there. Love to have you on the show. Talk about that. But I want to get through this new setup we had with Creative Studios. We have an unlimited amount of guests that we can have on at one time. And I really want to challenge that. I want it to look like the Brady Bunch. Remember when I had all the squares and everybody's on there, and I want you in the middle doing the,
I watched that show on reruns, Dave. You probably watched it when it was broadcast.
I'm going back to my youth.
Most people don't even know about the Brady Bunch. Come on.
So we can get a lot of different people on, and we can get a lot of different perspectives. I mean, we want track owners, and not just oval and not just 1/18th. We want track owners we want to hear it from all different directions and all different thoughts and ideas, because the goal of that is, you get a lot of good people with good brains that are successful at this, and put it all together. You hope that a would-be track owner, or somebody who would always thought about starting a track, can get all these ideas and kind of save themselves from making the mistakes that I know all of us have made launching a track. So that'll be part one of it. Part two is when you're going to really be the host of it, is then we're going to go, we need drivers. So if you're listening to this or watching this, drop us a line. If you're like, yeah, I would love to talk about what I like at a racetrack and what I don't like at a racetrack. I think that'd be a very interesting conversation too. How do you get racers to come? It's a big commitment. I mean, you know what you did this summer, traveling to the track, having all these cars set up, being there. If it's not entertaining or it's not fun, you're not going to do it, right?
Yeah.
But you got tracks like Attitude that 150 plus show up at. They're obviously doing it right, and there's a lot of tracks around the country that are doing that. And it'd be great to hear from racers what they do and do not like at those tracks.
Yeah, and the thing that we have to understand is that, track promoters, track owners, they put, I just want to preface this actually, is, the track owners, the promoters, they put a lot of effort into, race days. Aaron's talked about it at Attitude, Jamie Tennis at Trackside. These, and I apologize, I'm really only limited to Wisconsin tracks, but the ones that I have been at, you just see the passion. It oozes out. They can be walking around like their dog just died, but yet when they get up on that stand and start promoting that race and track prep and all of that, they're into it, right? Because they're there for you, and they want you to have fun and they want you to come back. So, we don't want to dog track owners, but if we can give them some tips and say, hey, this is really cool, or I saw this, and just give them some ideas, I think would be super beneficial for everyone. So I think that will be a great show. And then just hearing about what goes into this, how much time guys spend on their cars. I mean, this summer it was almost like a full-time job, maintaining cars, and in the friendships that I've made and what those guys do all the time and talking with them. I mean, so this will be a great time to discuss all that and see what some of the really fast guys do, see what the average Joe does. Maybe they can pick up some tips. So I'm really looking forward to that episode.
Yep. I hear you. So that transitions us as a great segue actually to what I wanted to pose to you. So you did do a lot of racing this summer, probably more than you even anticipated when it started. I know you're like, I'm just going to take my Slash and I'm going to try to go run some dirt. And boy, I mean, it has manifested from there. So why don't you just tell the listeners a little bit of what you've been doing and how it went?
So, yeah, it got a little crazy this summer. I had my street stock Slash that I built. And Matt Murphy was the guy who's just like, Ryan, just take the thing out and go race. And so I did. And you know what? I went to Attitude, just said, what the heck, give it a try, support Aaron Streblo, which I'm rocking the gear. There we go, Strebby. So, I had so much fun. People recognize me from the show, at least my voice anyways, and just kind of welcomed me with open arms. And that took so much pressure off, and I threw my car out on the track for practice. I squeezed the trigger, and when it went sideways in that corner on that banking at Attitude, it was like, oh yeah, baby. And I was hooked instantly. I told my wife, I said, I'm running the rest of the season. Sorry, honey, I love you, but I got to do this. And I just cemented some great friendships. Tony Balistreri, Jason Walicki, those guys really helped me set up my car, which was just fantastic. I mean, they gave me so much advice and just let me run. So a couple weeks in, Jason goes, here, run my SC mod. So I started running his SC mod, flying the Walicki colors on it, and had some pretty good results with it, actually. Made an A main my first race out. And it's just been a lot of fun. Just so cool there. A shout out to my barbecue sauce man, Byron. He's got the best homemade barbecue sauce in the world. That's Aaron's father-in-law. Just great people up there. They do so much, not only for the community. There's some great charity races. Most recent, I believe it was Brian Vacula, had some health issues, so we did a lot of donating. A lot of people donated a lot of products. In fact, the Underground did as well, and raised a ton of money for that family to help pay some medical bills, and it was just a cool turnout. So that's the kind of atmosphere and attitude. So I've been running there every week, and Jason Walicki hit me up and he said, "Hey, buddy, I want you to run Chili Bowl with me." And I went, whoa, what? I've got 6 races under my belt, and now you got me running Chili Bowl. So I am heading to Chili Bowl in January, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Mr. Scotty Ernst, it's his production. I forget what running of the Chili Bowl it is, but that's happening. And I'm running in a street stock division as well as the SCB mod division. So I'm just a little nervous, but if it goes like attitude, it's just going to be an awesome week of racing. A lot of fun, hanging out with buddies, creating some new friendships. I am just super pumped for that. It's been a blast. And I think the thing too about all this is just, again, the friendships just keep coming. It's been great. And creating some friendships with people I thought that I'd never have a friendship with, just talking with them more. I think it's just been an absolute blast. So Chili Bowl is going to be the pinnacle for me. But I'm just looking forward to learning so much through that. So, and that brings me to a point we made earlier. I'm going mobile. So Chili Bowl, you're going to see my mug. We're going live there. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff for that. Obviously, it's in January, so we got some months to prepare. But that's going to be a great time. We've got a 2-day show coming up at Attitude Raceway at the end of the month. Really, really looking forward to that. So we'll probably do a live feed from there as well. If the stars align. So just going to be a great year. Great year of racing.
I think what some people might not know or have lost track of is you've really come into the sport just 2 years ago. And look at what a portion of your life it is now. And you have a great support. I know your daughter loves to ask about the cars and be there with you when you're doing stuff with the cars. Your wife is just super. I mean, she couldn't be more supportive of, she, I don't want to speak for her, but I guess she appreciates what you experience. You're getting, fun and enjoyment out of it. You're meeting a bunch of really cool people. But if you don't have that support at home, none of it happens, right?
Yeah, I couldn't do any of this without her and just giving me that freedom. She knows the type of people I hang out with. She knows the amount of joy I get from it. So yeah, without her, this would never happen. And, I would lose interest pretty darn quick. It's not like she's kicking me out the door to go racing. I mean, because it does take away from some family time, but she also understands that, you got to have your time, to just kind of cut loose. And racing for me has, just given me that time to just kind of unwind, but wind up, if that makes any sense. Because, right, you're competing. But I need that. I have a competitive spirit, and, I enjoy doing it. And she recognizes that and gives me that freedom to do that. So God bless her.
Well, and then from the RC perspective, you like to do it, but I have to say you do it very well. It's been fun to watch you progress. I mean, there's not many, again, I'm old, so seen a lot of this. George Murray and I had this conversation one day that, just to see you embrace the hobby, not just jump into it and be like, oh yeah, this is great, and then burn out right away. Like, oh, okay, this is nothing. Like, you have embraced it. You have put your arms around it. You're going, you thirst for it. You just consume it. You have so much knowledge about it in such a short period of time. But put all that aside and just watch you drive. that's what's been fun for me to see, like going out to Attitude. And I know I'm embarrassing you, but too bad. So
Nah.
to go out to Attitude and see you, you have a racing background. I mean, you've been around full size racing for most of your life, and you've taken that and applied that to your RC racing, and have really made some headway. Not just setting up the car, but your drive lines and just that whole piece. It's really been fun to watch you embrace this hobby, and then execute. And you're making A mains, and you're running multiple cars, and you're adjusting to those lines and how to drive this car versus that car. And I mean, you've told me some stories, and I know we'll unpack those as the season goes on. But it's just been fun, buddy. It's just been fun to watch you grow.
No, I appreciate that. And I will tell you, and this is true in life, anything worth doing is worth doing right, and giving it your all. We, as guys playing with toy cars, we invest a lot of money in this. And I learned that this summer with, purchasing my first kit, my first Team Associated kit, and putting that together, and, electronics and all that stuff. We invest a lot of money in this, and, you can't burn out. But I think what helps get through that and prevent that burnout is having friends within the sport. So, I was struggling, but I had friends help me out, and I'm forever grateful for that. I mean, heck, just my trackside setup. Jason Malicki's like, yeah, run this, run that. Right? So I threw the setup in my car, and I threw it out on the track, and I was like, oh yeah, she's gonna eat. And there was another racer there who had raced off-road. That's all he's done. And it was his first night there with a Slash. And he's telling me this. I said, well, take it out. Let's go. Let's see what you got. And he's struggling a little bit. Setup was off. And I said, well, let's do this and do that. And we did it. And he's like, oh, yeah, car's way better. And we had an absolute blast running together. So I think the biggest thing is, don't be afraid to talk to other drivers. I don't mean to be demeaning about this, but we're all passionate, right? Yes, we want to win, but the thing is what really keeps this all going is supporting one another, right? And not, we're not competing on this like national level, okay? At least I'm not. And so I don't mind. Hey, if I got a setup, here it is, man. Or can I help you with anything, or vice versa? I welcome that. You have to welcome that, and you have to give it as much as you receive. So that's the big thing, and that's the takeaway. I think people need to understand is share. And some of the greatest drivers that I've met, we've got that new drag strip for our C cars, right down at Union Grove. Is that it, right?
Yeah, Union Grove.
Yeah, and Scotty Ernst had a big show there, and I was hanging out with our good friend Tom Vassy, and he's sponsored. Okay, he's Team GFRP, was with Trinity. Some people came up and started asking him about his car. He stopped everything he was doing and just gave him the download on his drag car, and I thought that was cool, and that's really, as kind of a representative of a lot of companies, Tom was doing it right. He was helping, representing the brands that support him. And that's the thing I try to do too is, and I know you do it, right? When we're at tracks, we're usually wearing our RC Underground swag. People know us. We start talking. We've got to represent that brand well, right? So we've got to help. We've got to encourage. That's a really big part of it. I don't think people understand that all the time.
Well, and everything you talked about, it really culminates of what RC is meant to be. It's the spirit of RC racing is the people, the fun.
All right, folks. So here's the deal. I like to talk, and I can do this for hours, okay? But here's the thing. I don't want to just talk to talk. I want to talk about something. So my call to action for all of you listeners, everybody watching this podcast, we want you to comment. Give us the good, the bad, the ugly. I've got tough skin. I can take all that, and I can compartmentalize it. If you got something bad to say, that's fine. I don't care. But we'd really love, questions, comments, Give us those. Give us some feedback.
Yeah, as we always say, we put the show together, but this is your show, right? We want this to be your show. We want it to have topics and people and discussion that you want to hear, whether you're in your car or whether you're at home, wherever you're listening and watching this. We always want you to tune in because it's going to be something you're interested in.
Okay. So please just take 30 seconds. Come up with a question, a comment, post it, and let's go.
So to Ryan's part, reach out to us. Let us know what you want to hear.
Yeah, for sure. I don't want to talk about me all the time, although I do love me some me. The other thing I would encourage you to do is, we're not the only awesome RC podcast out there. And I will say that there is one podcast that I have listened to religiously. I've watched it because they stream it on YouTube, and then also posted on Apple and Spotify is Wheel and Trigger. Brent from Beach RC. He is a very, very passionate guy, and he has some amazing guests. It's very eye-opening. And the first episode that I ever listened to was when they had Kevin Abbott on from Trinity after all that went down with Horizon. And both of those guys, their passion for the hobby, what they were doing, and it made the hair on my neck stand up. And I've listened to them ever since. So I would encourage you to check out that show if you want some more, because Brent really gets into a lot of detail. He's actually, I think, just been selected as a Roar member. So he's getting way more involved with that. And the guy is just a brainiac, one of the hardest working guys too in RC.
Yeah, you talk about passion, you talk about passion for the hobby. That's it.
Yeah.
And what we'll do is we'll include a link to that show in the show notes, because Ryan's right. You have to check that out. They just get so in depth into the hobby. It's just if you're into RC, it's just always a very, very interesting conversation. Yeah, it'd be super fun to have RC Underground and Wheel and Trigger, and we should do that, right? As a hobby, if we really want to show that this hobby is a family, right? Mm-hmm. Then we should be doing that kind of stuff. And
I want to learn from him too.
Yeah, I'm just sure we could get into some great conversation. Hopefully, some things he hasn't even thought about yet, and obviously things that we haven't thought about yet. And it really would be fun to pick each other's brains and just guys sitting back talking about toy cars.
Yep, absolutely. And some of the races that he's putting on, there's a lot of great events that are coming up now during the winter season. Hopefully we can talk to Jamie at Trackside. He's got the big associated race coming up in November. So I'd love to get him on the show and talk about that, because that guy, he knows more. He's just a very passionate guy, and I think he can bring a lot to the table as well.
Well, Ryan, that's going to do it for our first episode of Season 2. So glad that we got the belts back on, the helmets down. It's going to be a wild ride, buddy.
I don't really wear a helmet when I'm racing, though.
But you should. I mean, you want to be safe.
I should during the day. I should pretty much just wear one, just to protect myself and others. But no, hey, Season 2. I never thought this was a possibility. Just had so much fun over the summer, talking to everyone, getting everybody amped up about the next season, and just the fact that people are like, "Oh, you're from RC Underground?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's really cool. But what's more important is just the friendships that I've made through all this. It's just been fantastic. So let's go. It's Season 2, baby. Come on.
And with that, we will end it. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Yeah, we've got unusual things we have to do now. We have to ask you to like and subscribe and ring that bell and all that other YouTube jargon. We appreciate you if you're watching on that platform. If you're still listening to it, just audio version, say on Spotify or all the other platforms, we appreciate you for listening, and we look forward to coming back at you next week.
Thank you, everyone, and adios.
listening to RC Underground Radio. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, drop us a line at rcuradio@gmail.com. We're curious to know, what do you like? What don't you like? Who would you like us to talk to?
It was weird, but you know what I meant. We're talking about racing, so...
You can find us on Spotify, Facebook, and YouTube. See you next time on the RC Underground Radio Podcast.
I am a BB in a boxcar.